Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Today, President Trump, the president for peace. 9 months into his second term, the commander-in-chief is taking on the ruthless, the criminal, and the biggest terrorists of all. From narco-terrorists in Venezuela and Mexico to bullies and killers in Russia and Gaza. I met with the president this past week in his first interview since his historic peace deal in the Middle East, where he effectively ended the war in Gaza. And it was just hours after a 2.5-hour phone call he had with Vladimir Putin, as the president is now turning his sights toward ending the war on Ukraine. But in the middle of his peace negotiations and a meeting with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, the president first zeroed in on American families, announcing in the Oval Office more price cuts for prescription drugs and easier access to fertility medication. I was honored to join the pool reporters in the Oval Office to hear the president's progress.
Oh, look who we have. Look at that, the great Maria Bartiromo. I didn't know. Did you get put into the regular pool pack? That's very good. Yeah, that's good. Nice to see you. I was so proud of myself because I was the first president in 28 years where drug prices went down for the year. And you know what? They went down 1/8 of 1%. But I was so 1/8 of 1%. Now I'm getting them down, Maria, 500, 600, 800%.
And after the press conference, the president joined me in the Roosevelt Room, where he took us behind the scenes of his historic peace deal in the Middle East.
It started probably with Soleimani. He was a mastermind who did a lot of bad things. He's the father of the roadside bomb that would blow up, and most of the people are great patriots, are great soldiers that you see without arms, legs, and lots of problems. He was the one. That was his way of saying, we don't like you too much, and affected a lot of people. That started one. But I think very big was recently with the taking out of the nuclear weapon from Iran. When we blew those beautiful B-2 bombers, when they went into Iran airspace and they came out unscathed. I mean, the whole thing was the most beautiful military operation. They flew for 37 hours. We had everything. And they went into that and they bombed the hell out of it. And when we destroyed their nuclear capability, they no longer became the bully of the Middle East. And we hit them a lot of other ways, along with it, Israel. And they no longer became the bully. And if they were, we wouldn't have been able to make the deal we just made, which is basically peace in the Middle East, beyond Gaza, peace in the Middle East. And all of those great Arab nations, I mean, you look at Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE, those three, and then you have the ones that, as you know, joined the Abraham Accords. But they were able to breathe. They were able to do what they had to do, and they've been fantastic. But if we didn't take out the nuclear, there's no way that we would have been able to do this.
And I spoke with you right after that strike on the nuclear facilities, and you were so complimentary, obviously, of our pilots.
Yeah.
But you also have relationships in the Middle East. You went to the Middle East as your first international trip as president. So was there some cajoling that you did with the leadership of Qatar and the leadership of UAE to get them to make the case to Hamas, it's over?
So I've been friendly with them for years, and actually I became somewhat friendly during my first term, but I was friendly with some of them before I was a politician. And, you know, it's vast wealth. Those countries are, you know, incredibly wealthy. And they put out money, they invest money, et cetera, et cetera. They have tremendous oil wealth. So I knew a lot of them before, but I got to know them very well during the first term, and really well, you know, now, but I got to know them very well during the first term. Qatar, as an example, the Emir, who's a fantastic man. Tamim, he's a really fantastic person. And, you know, he's in the middle of a very tough little area because he's sort of surrounded by every little problem. And he has to play it close to the vest a little bit. He has to. Anybody would. Anybody that's smart, and he's very smart. The king of Saudi Arabia has done unbelievable. Now you have the king, and then you have the son who is... The king is fantastic. He's got a son who is phenomenal, who you know a little bit, Mohammed. And Mohammed's going to be a great leader for many years. And then you have UAE, and he's incredible. They're all incredible people. But sometimes people don't realize that, and they really helped us a lot. Qatar's the one that's most, vulnerable in that sense because it was right next to Iran, but they had great courage. And the bottom line is we got it done, and we did something that nobody thought was possible. We created, it's peace in the Middle East, and I think we're going to get Russia done. I think that'll be, it's not easy. I thought that would have been the easiest one. I have a good relationship with President Putin. I've always had. Don't forget, he had to go through the Russia hoax. That made it very difficult for us in terms of trade or other things. That hoax was just a disgrace. So now we have the war. The first time we had that, and now we have the war. But there's a great potential for trade there. And I hope that we're going to be successful. Ukraine has been very brave.
Well, you came at the peace deal with the Qataris as a business person. You were a business person before the commander-in-chief. So is that the case you made for the Qataris to explain it to Hamas? Think prosperity, think peace, think riches, business.
I don't have to make too much of a case because they're very smart people. And frankly, if Iran stayed strong, like as a military threat, I wouldn't have even asked them. There's nothing, it's right, they're neighbors, right? They're right next to you. You literally would walk into one or the other. So it was really the decimation of Iran that got us there. Without that, we couldn't have gone to the next step. And then we went to the next step, and now we have a deal. And I think it's a deal that catches on. It's a deal that's respected by everybody. We had Arab countries, Muslim countries. We had everybody. Israel approved this deal. Bibi was very brave. Bibi was a great warrior.
And yet, as soon as you left, Hamas executed 7 people, and then they went on to execute 30 more.
Yeah.
Do you believe they really will disarm?
Well, they promised they would. They said they would. It's down that they would. Now, they said they were gang members, et cetera, But these are very violent people. This is a very violent part of the world. Nobody's seen violence like this. If we have to, we'll disarm them.
The U.S.?
Well, whether it's me or the U.S. or it's, a proxy, could be Israel with our backing. We won't have boots on the ground. There's no reason to.
In the past, you've said Gaza could be beautiful. It could be developed, and you said you wanted to develop it.
Well,
Do you
not
have
me
plans for that?
Not me as an individual.
The U.S.?
I liked it as like Freedom Place. You call it Freedom Place. And we would get all of the people that live there into decent homes throughout the region. If you look, Egypt has a lot of land. Jordan has a lot of land, right next door. A lot of countries have a lot of land. So I had an initial vision that we would get them. Look at Gaza. I mean, there's nothing standing. The whole thing it's all rubble. So it's not too hard to top that. And we'd build houses, and it would be paid for by the wealth of the wealthiest countries are there. Although, if we win the tariff case, which hopefully we will, it's vital to the interests of our country. We're the wealthiest country there is. If we don't, we'll be struggling for years to come. I've ended, of the 8 wars that we just mentioned, 5 of them have been ended because of tariffs. The threat of tariffs, as an example, kept India and Pakistan, 2 nuclear nations, from going at it. They were going at it. 7 planes were shot down. That's a lot. And they were going at it, and that could have been a nuclear war. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan actually just said, President Trump saved millions of lives by him getting that. And I said to India and Pakistan pretty much the same thing. I said, look, if you're going to fight each other, I'm not going to do business with you. We're going to put on a 200% tariff, which will make it impossible for you to deal, and we're not going to do business. No, they said, no. And after 24 hours, I settled the war because I settled it through trade.
I want to get back to that because I want to talk a little about your backup plan, should that not go your way. But just to close the loop here, so are there plans for the U.S. or for yourself to help develop Gaza?
We are going to have a board of peace. You heard about it. And they've asked me to be the chairman. This is what I needed. But It's very important that to me, peace in the Middle East, that's a big thing. I've heard the term all my life, peace in the Middle East. For 3,000 years, it hasn't happened.
When you spoke to Vladimir Putin, did you tell him that you were considering sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine? Are you still seriously considering that?
Well, I've been asked by Ukraine if they could have Tomahawks, and I'm looking at it. I spoke with Vladimir Putin about it, and not that he would be thrilled. It's a violent, vicious weapon. But we have to remember one thing. We need them for ourselves, too. We can't give all of our weapons to Ukraine. We just can't do that. And I've been very good to President Zelensky and to Ukraine, but we can't give, if we're going to be short, I don't want to do that. I can't jeopardize the United States.
Did you get any sense from Putin that he would be willing or open to the idea of ending this war without taking significant property from Ukraine?
Well, he's going to take something. I mean, they fought, and he has a lot of property. I mean, he's won certain property. If you say that, he's won certain property. We're the only nation that goes in and wins a war and then leaves, like we did under President Bush in the Middle East. We go in, we blast the hell out of everybody, destroy the place, and then we leave, Remember, I used to say, keep the oil. But I really didn't say, I said two things. I said, don't go in. But then they went in. And I said, well, don't go in, but if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But we didn't keep the oil. What do? We go in, we blast it to pieces, and then we leave, Doesn't make sense, never made sense.
Is there a timeline to get Hamas to disarm, in your mind?
Not a timeline, not a hard line, but we're going to see how it all works out. They've lived there for a long time. They're very violent, as you understand. You've been covering it for a long time. But we're going to find out. Don't forget, 50,000 of them have been killed, okay? Mm-hmm. So they killed 1,200 people in the October 7th attack. It was an attack. They killed 1,200, but Israel can say that we killed 50,000. And so you'd say it's a whole new set of people. And it is. I mean, they get replaced by other people, young people. But we're going to find out. So it's not a hard timeline, but it's a line in my own mind. And at a certain point, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then we'll have to do it for them.
Do you expect an expansion of the Abraham Accords?
I do, almost soon. I don't want to use the word immediate, but soon. The Abraham Accords are a miracle in a way. And the 4 countries that went in initially, including UAE, highly respected, big and highly respected, they stayed in, and they're doing incredibly well. I mean, they're basically trading with Israel and have access and everything else. I mean, it's good for everybody. I hope to see Saudi Arabia go in, and I hope to see others go in. I think when Saudi Arabia goes in, everybody goes in, highly respected. And the Crown Prince, who's also the Prime Minister, and the king in waiting. His father's such a wonderful man. He's still healthy, and he's still very sharp. But yeah, I think that they're going to all go in very soon.
So they've indicated to you a willingness to do so.
Oh, they have. Even as recently as like yesterday, I had some very good conversations. Now, they couldn't have done it during the war. They couldn't have done it with the fight with, the fight that was going on with Iran as a power. With Iran as a power, that's why the 4 original countries really, they were somewhat courageous of them. And they did it with Iran as a power, and they made the right decision. And then they stayed during the war. A lot of people thought they'd have to get out. No, the Abraham Accords are amazing. It's amazing, and it'll help bring long-lasting peace into the Middle East. Nobody thought they were possible either, but the big thing is what happened over the last few days. It's been pretty much incredible. Just like your ratings are incredible, it's been incredible.
That's wonderful, Mr. President. Now, the Biden administration is saying that they're taking credit for the peace plan. Anthony Blinken said that they laid the groundwork for the peace deal before leaving office.
So let me just tell you how crazy it is. They backed Iran. They backed Iran totally. They deserted Israel. They deserted everybody. and they backed Iran. You know that. It started with Barack Hussein Obama. He went into Iran. And let's say that their idea worked. Then you would have right now a nuclear-powered Iran, because Iran was on its way to a nuclear weapon under these people. And so when we do it, rather than saying, although they did say congratulations. I mean, Biden said it, Hillary Clinton said
That's
it,
right.
A lot of people said it. The only one that I heard say that was Blinken.
Right.
And Blinken didn't, he wasn't good at what he did. He was a lousy negotiator. And for him to try and take care, just so you understand, they did the exact opposite. They didn't set groundwork. They set the opposite of groundwork. They set traps, because they wanted, and they felt strongly that they wanted to back Iran over the rest of the Middle East. And they did it with Obama, and they did it with Biden. Now, Biden didn't know what the hell he was doing, so it didn't matter. But his people that surrounded him in the Oval Office, the people that worked the auto pen, the people that signed all those signatures illegally because he had no idea what was going on. So all those signatures that were signed, except his son's signature, I think he signed for Hunter. I think that was actually because it wasn't nearly as neat as the auto pen. The auto pen was much better.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.